Hey Joe, how's it going? Sorry it's taken me so long to get this out to you, but I've been having a few issues with the equipment that I was going to try to use for these videos, but I'm kind of jury-rigged a system right now, and we'll see how it works. But anyway, so we'll give it a shot here, see what's going on. Oh, and also, I apologize if you might hear some dog noises in the back. That's the tricky part about trying to record with dogs in the house because they don't like to stay very still for most of the time, and if I try to lock them off in a room, then they're just going to bark a lot and be noisy that way. So we'll see how this goes. So the first thing I wanted to say is I've been playing some Prototype lately. I picked that up on the PSN sale a couple weeks ago for $8. Finally, after having wanted it in my collection for so many years, I've been finally able to go through and get it. And I gotta say, I like the game. The city traversal is really fun, jumping around and running really fast and gliding from rooftop to rooftop. That's great. I love it when a game is really good at doing that. The only thing that's weird about it is this suspenseful thriller government conspiracy story that that the game is built on. But they'll kind of like sprinkle it in with these missions where you have to try to run really fast from checkpoint to checkpoint in order to beat a certain time, or to like glide and land close enough to a target point. And it seems kind of weird to have those kinds of things in a game where the story is the way that it is. I don't know. It just doesn't really seem to fit with me because, frankly, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the story, and those side missions where you're trying to go for gold medals are the best part of the game. Somebody thought it was a good enough idea to greenlight the game and to make it, but so who am I to judge? No. So, moving on. I watched an episode of the Jolo Show recently, about a week ago or so, and I noticed you said something about how your son is 3 years old now. Where has the time gone? I could have sworn it was just yesterday that you were telling me that you were going to be a father. Anyway, congratulations for that. But then it kind of got me thinking, what is it like to be a video game parent? You know, we're kind of living in this strange and exciting new time where the kids being born now have parents who have never known a world without video games, which I think is an important distinction to make from being born into a world of video games. So what does that mean for our culture? What does it mean to be a parent who plays games? How do we pass that on to our kids? Should we try to pass it on to our kids? I think we should, because I think that video games are a perfectly viable form of culture that we should pass on to future generations. But how do we do it? You know, when I was a kid, I was kind of unique in this aspect because my parents never wanted any video games in the house at all whatsoever, which was a huge bummer for me because that was the thing that was most interesting to me. That was the thing that I enjoyed doing the most. Over and above what they had tried to get me interested in, signing me up for sports or anything else like that, I would always turn to video games. And I don't know if it was a kind of forbidden fruit type of situation, or if it was because they were actually interesting to me, which they were, because I had a great time playing games with my friends, and it was awesome. But what is it about them that attracted me to them so much? And, you know, is that a bad thing for my parents because because I never really took to the things that they tried to get me into? I mean, I kind of did. You know, my dad was into classical music, and so I developed an appreciation for that, but never really to the extent that I think he wanted me to. So then I thought, well, if I try to do that with my daughter, or if you try to do that with your son, what is that going to mean if they don't take to the things that we try to get them into? My daughter loves playing games with me right now, but if she came to me one day and said, you know what, Dad, I think I'm kind of done with video games. I'd really rather just join the lacrosse team at school or whatever, I gotta say, I'd kind of be hurt by that. And, you know, it doesn't mean that I would love her any less, but you know, it's a part of me that she's now abandoning, and it just kind of fills me with all these weird mixed emotions, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. What do you think? What's your take on it? Go away. Go away. Get out of here. Go on. Don't look at me like that. No. Stop. Now, if you are interested in getting your kids into video games, then there's a few very specific titles that I would recommend doing that with. The first being Kirby's Epic Yarn. Now, that game is great for two reasons. One, because it's slow-paced enough that I feel like it's good for kids to handle. It's a good sort of jumping off point for them to get into. And also, you can't die in the game, which I think is really good for kids, because it's very frustrating and might even be damaging to their psyche to have to try to manage lives and do continues and go back to the beginning and everything. It was really, really tough for me to do as a kid, and I got really angry at games growing up at certain points. I don't feel like I want to put my daughter through that. Also, I would go with any one of the Lego games that has split-screen co-op for a couple of reasons. Because the split screen makes it easier for two people to play, and playing a co-op game with your kids is a really, really great experience. But then having the split screen means that you don't have to try to jockey for screen dominance. You know, I want to go this way, but your kid wants to go this way. It can kind of get a little frustrating, especially at that age, maybe before they're listening very well. But the other thing is that you can't die in those games either. I mean, you can die, but you'll always just go right back to where you were, and you can keep going until you finish the level. Now, I must say, I also am looking forward to the new Disney Infinity 3.0 that's going to be coming out. And maybe it's the kid in me that, wants to actually collect physical toys to have as in my house. And also the combination of that and going back to my early days of Star Wars fandom when it was so magical and wondrous, this world, this universe that I was experiencing. I feel like for some reason Disney Infinity 3.0 is really able to get me to that point. So what do you think? Are there any suggestions that you have for games that you think would be good to start kids on? Love to hear them. Get away! Stop it! Stop. All right, that's enough. One final little bit of advice that I want to leave you with. Be very careful the way your son handles the controller, because he's probably going to do some things that he doesn't know what he's doing and that you don't want him to do. When Jade was about his age, she was probably like 3 or 4, she knew how to hold an Xbox 360 controller, and she knew how to turn it on and just push buttons. So she did that one day without the TV being on. I didn't know it was happening, and I had some Microsoft points stored on my account. Well, to cut a long story short, basically I wound up with a purchase for some maps for Halo Wars that I didn't want, and my account was 800 points short. So be very, very careful about that. Don't say I didn't warn you. All right, talk to you next time. Looking forward to see what you have to say. See ya.